Our last paper of this session is by Marcia Haag from the University of Oklahoma, and she will be talking on what to leave in, what to leave out, different concepts of word in Choctaw and Cherokee. And I do have all the handouts. I'll be putting them back in the back, but if there's anybody else who needs one, put up your hand before I take them away.
I'm going to discuss some problems in word formation by comparing the Muskogee language Choctaw to the Iroquoian language Cherokee. The problem will touch on three theoretical points. The first is the status of hierarchy and simplicity in word formation. Traditional theories, and let's say Aronoff and Kaparsky at this point, posit a lexical nucleus, or we'll say the root, built up by cycles of affixation, wherein each affix selects certain properties for its base, and the resulting derivative is both predictable in its meaning and phonological form, and also is sealed such that subsequent operations can't get at the information from earlier levels. And so we know how this works. If we have, in English, we have control, then we could say controllable and uncontrollable and uncontrollably, where each affix requires, among other things, a particular lexical category for its base. The second problem is how far does the syntax penetrate into the word? Now, in the syntax all the way down theories, let's say like Weber and Morantz, syntax must be engaged below word level because argument structure, especially pertinent to predicates, is the kernel of syntax. So can roots exist pre-categorially? And this leads to the third problem. At what linguistic level is lexical category, meaning noun, verb, adjective, achieved? The two languages, Choctaw and Cherokee, make these distinctions. Choctaw is robustly hierarchical and cyclic, though its word formation strategies are a good deal more interesting than those of European languages since it uses both affixation and stem deformation. Cherokee compounds categoryless lexical roots without appeal to cycle or hierarchy. This might be another way of saying that something is polysynthetic. With respect to syntax, both languages permit syntactically inert grammatical affixes modestly in Choctaw and extensively in Cherokee. With respect to the achievement of lexical category, Choctaw depends crucially on category at the level of the lexeme, and this can be demonstrated readily. In Cherokee as well, lexical category emerges with the placement of suffixes that seal the word with respect to which grammatical affixes are active. So let's examine some data and think about this question. In data sets 1 and 2 here, we have Choctaw roots with derivational affixes. These are quite straightforward, and even students of the language are able to decipher complex words readily. Note that the set in 1, the kana, requires a particular base for each cycle and an order of affixation. So if we look here, we have ikana, and then we can add the causative ikanachi, and then from there we can take the whole base, ikanachi, and we can put nanikanachi to get the one who teaches, and then we can get pi nanikanachi, our teacher, but we cannot have something like nanikana and then suffix chi on it, because chi, there's an order of derivation, and this is the kind of cycle that I'm talking about, the hierarchy of the cycle. Okay, in number 2, we add morphology that also indicates transitivity and argument type in verbs. And so here we have the famous al-li sets where we often get an allomorph of the li suffix. Here we've got the kashofi and kashofa, kashofi, where fi is actually li. And so we can add the causative again. Note that the instrument marker isht is neutral with respect to category. So if we have clean with and being an instrument, or clean with doing actually the clean with something. But note again how analytical these are, because that is the point. Also taking note of the koshofichi, clean something, cause to clean something. There's a couple of things. One of them is make somebody clean something. The other one is to purge. And I'll talk about this in a moment, but there seems to be some differences in what the gloss is. But, okay, so again, this is just an example of well-ordered, hierarchical, cyclic kinds of derivation that depend on the properties of the base to get the new derivative. Okay, now, Choctaw also uses infixation, as we have in 3 here, to mark along, among other things, plurality in an argumentative verb. The calculus is if the verb is intransitive, the infix marks a plural subject, and intransitive, a plural object. And this shows both a hierarchy in verb argument type and a reliance on a particular lexical category at lexical level. In other words, what I can do is that I depend on the argument structure of that verb to know how to interpret the plural marker. And I also depend on the fact that that is lexically a verb to be able to know what to do at all. Okay, more exciting stem deformations are seen in 4 and 5. These are illustrations of what are called, and I believe from Byington forward, the grades. And Charles Ulrich has done an excellent job of explaining how these work morphophonologically, and I won't go into the glories of how to do the infixation and stem deformation. The point here is to show how the 2 stative predicates, Choctaw and Choctaw, cannot be distinguished in syntax, and certainly this isn't enough to show that they can't be distinguished in syntax. You may have to take my word that distributionally there is no unobscure way to pull out stative predicates in Choctaw. But these literally pop apart when the grades are applied to them into 2 different lexical categories. So this has to come at the level of the lexeme, not lower in the semantics or higher in the syntax, but precisely where the distinction turns on the properties of verb versus adjective. Does it mark aspect or does it mark scale? Okay, so only if the word can have some kind of appeal to properties at that level would it be able to trade on those properties to be able to get a comparative or an iterative aspect or whatever kind of aspect is going on.